My name is Kate Colley. Welcome to my channel. And today we're going to talk about how to break the spell of a trauma bond. So many people experience this to such varying degrees. What I want to really hone in on and outline in this particular video is two main steps that are neurologically, when we really look at what's going on behind the surface of your own human behavior, the two main steps that are absolutely necessary when fully overcoming a trauma bond, not just managing it, not just controlling your thoughts about it, but really genuinely overcoming it, putting it behind you, moving on with your life, and actually moving on with your life in a way that feels really expansive, that feels better than you've ever felt before. And yes, that is possible. So as you probably know, a trauma bond is an emotional attachment to another individual. I would say usually it's romantic attachment. That's when I usually hear about it, but it could be any type of relationship where the other person is abusive, toxic, in some way not healthy for you. So usually in a trauma bond scenario, there's this really bizarre distinction between what you logically know to be true and then what your body is doing. And it's almost like the mind and the body are on two different pages, because the mind will say, I know that this person is bad for me. I know that this person is toxic. I am observing that they are doing X, Y, Z. I can see, because I've talked to maybe friends or therapists, that there is gaslighting going on, that there's manipulation, that there's abuse going on. And it's all really, really clear, or at least mostly clear. Sometimes with gaslighting, it's quite difficult to tell. And then what happens in the body is that the body is responding to that same situation totally differently. And the body might be longing for the other person. The body might be feeling this really deep, heartfelt pain about the thought of just not having that person. The body, all the way down to the genitals, might be really, really turned on, really craving sexual contact with that person. And all of these different states happening in the body and the mind seem to be in conflict. And sometimes it's even that the mind, the heart, and the genitals are all in conflict, which I just want to validate to you that it is a deeply confusing experience. So in my work, which is a lot of it is called parts work. In parts work, I look at all of that and I see each part of you. So mind, heart, genitals, anywhere in between or outside of that, as all valid parts of you, okay? Your body will never produce anything against itself. And this really includes emotions as well. And so if there is a love for, or an attachment to, or a longing for a toxic person, I see that as valid, okay? It doesn't mean that I also indicate and promote being with toxic people. Absolutely not. Toxicity, abusiveness, that is a hard no. It's a hard stop. It's a hard boundary. But when working through trauma bonds to get you to this place where you've reached expansiveness and beauty and art within yourself and within your new relationships to come, one must see all of these parts as valid. Because here's what happens. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up when they're trying to get over a trauma bond, because their logic mind, and because we live in a society that values logic over, almost everything else, we think that that is true and right and correct, and that everything else is invalid. And so the emotions in the body and the sex energy in your genitals and all of that, they exist primarily in your subconscious mind, which is actually more powerful in some ways. It takes up more neurological space than your conscious mind. And your conscious mind is your logic. It's your thoughts. The logic and thoughts is about 5% of you. So if 5% of you is here's what I know to be true and screw the rest, and you start trucking along this journey to overcome this trauma bond, only via logical thought and talking. You're going to get about this far, maybe that far, until all of this subconscious information is going to pull you back. It's going to pull you back into that trauma bond. That's what we call self-sabotage. Okay. Why does this pull you back? Because, like I said before, the body will never generate anything against itself. So what does that mean? There's always a positive, loving intention behind everything your body does, including loving this person, including longing for this person. And the real key here is one must gain intimacy with the parts of themselves that are out of alignment with the logical part of themselves. Otherwise, you're going to keep experiencing this tug of war. And, a little tangent here, but the worst part of it that I'm sure you've experienced is that every time you decide, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to think about this person. I'm not going to have sex with them again. I'm not going to see them, blah, blah, blah. You decide that. And then this part of you that is in the shadows of your subconscious pulls you back and you self-sabotage. What do? You beat yourself up. You start assigning meaning to it. Oh, I must be bad. I must be broken. I must be unworthy of love. There must be something wrong with me. I'm so messed up. Those are all lies. Those are belief systems that are lies. In all belief systems, this is maybe another video, but all belief systems come from this part of our brain that is so creative, that can actually create poetry, can create art, and can lie. It's the same thing. Lies are creative functions of the brain that creates meanings. There's a certain part of our brain that's basically like a meaning-making machine, and it must make sense of whatever is happening. And so if you're experiencing this back and forth, then your consciousness is going to look at that situation and be like, well, I must make meaning out of this. It's going to pull out a filing cabinet of your entire past down to when you were one cell in your mother's belly, and even generational past shit they don't even know about. And it's going to find a file that is widely used, doesn't mean that it's true, that can make sense of this. It's going to plop that out. Usually it's marked by shame, and it's going to drop it onto the situation. And then that only reinforces negative, untrue belief systems and puts you deeper into the hole of this trauma bond. Okay, so hopefully that made sense about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage always has a positive intention. So the two things that one must do to really overcome a trauma bond from a magical kind of expansive place is, first of all, is shadow work. What is shadow work? Shadow work is taking your awareness, your free will, your consciousness, and turning it towards the parts that you don't want to look at, the parts of you that you think are bad, wrong, that you feel like you want to get away from, and actually start to unwrap that like a gift. So I do have a free download for you called the Self-Sabotage Solution. It's a free ebook. It will walk you through the beginning stages of how to find the positive intention in your self-sabotaging behaviors. It's really good to work on this with trauma bonds. It's actually really great for all self-sabotaging behaviors. I'll put that link below. That is such an important step that people miss. Is you got to do the shadow work relative to the aspect of you that is acting out of alignment with what is best for your well-being. Now, the next half of the equation is a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more playful because it's not igniting the darkness and the depth within you. One more point on that, actually, now that I'm saying that, because I think a lot of people get scared of like, oh, there's darkness inside of me. But if there's darkness inside of you and your awareness is like this beautiful flashlight, the moment you point your awareness with your flashlight, and it just takes a moment, just takes one choice, one little moment of choosing to do that, you're shining your light on the darkness, and the darkness can no longer exist. And so while a lot of people I know are afraid of really doing that level of shadow work, please know that the light is what is true. Your awareness is what is true. And you're well equipped to sit with and be with in an expansive way any emotion that comes up for you. Because the only time an emotion gets stuck is when you resist it. And that's it. The second you bring the flashlight of your awareness there, it starts to move, and emotions are meant to move. Okay. But back to number two. Number two is to use that creative function, the one that I was saying that can create art, that can create poetry, that also creates meanings and create lies, to use that function of you to start to step out of your box and then step out of your box again and then step out of your box again and start to playfully, creatively come up with who might you be once you've overcome this trauma bond. Something that's really, really useful to include in this exploration is once you do the shadow work around the trauma bond and you uncover what I call to be the inner gold, which is unmet needs, repressed truths or desires, boundaries, all of that is in the ebook. I call it gold because it's beautiful information from your other than conscious mind that is trying to get your attention via uncomfortable emotions. But you use that gold that you've uncovered from the process in the self-sabotage solution, and you start to work with it. You bring that gold into who might I be when my boundaries feel expansive? How might I walk? What might my posture be like? What would my morning routine be like? What would my self-care be like? What am I really inspired to do? What are my values? And so a lot of these are like identity questions because the version of you that got you into this trauma bond, okay, is not the same version of you once you have completely put it behind you. It's literally a different version of you, and you need that novelty to set this into place. And really what this process does is it creates familiarity, it creates comfort, it creates joy, it creates excitement, it creates healthy dopamine. Yes, healthy dopamine, all towards who it is that you are becoming. Another function of self-sabotage that can oftentimes happen is that you start to move towards a goal. And if your human neurology knows nothing about this goal, it might mark it as unknown, uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen, and it might be unsafe. And so sometimes self-sabotage actually occurs because it pulls you away from that because it doesn't have enough certainty built into the structure of your nervous system. But when you do this second part that I'm outlining and you really start to explore via your five senses, you really drop into, you really listen to your body. Who might I be when I have a healthy relationship with myself and others? Who might I be when I walk, talk, choose, and express myself as an individual of extremely high self-worth? Get to know that version of you because your neurology on the back end will start hardwiring that in and it becomes familiar. So as you get closer to that, your neurology is like, oh yes, we've been here before. And this feels okay. This feels safe. I have tons more videos on my channel and also on my Instagram that will really help you to work with this. I kind of just gave you an overview, obviously the self-sabotage solution. And I do have another course that is specifically for trauma. It's the absolute best way to remove all trauma from your body. I kid you not. Once you learn it, it's free. It does not require a therapist. You can do it at any time, and it's actually a biological function of your own body. And all it takes is just like you flip the switch on and then it's available to you. So I will drop that link below. And that course is more for you if you know that, or you have a sense that your trauma bond is actually related to an unhealed trauma aspect within you. So I'll put both of those links below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Please let me know how you liked it in the comments and what other specific questions you have. I would love to answer them for you. Hit like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.